Thank you for helping spread the word about this up-and-coming YouTube channel, GCODE Print 3D. I'm thrilled to have you here. In this week's video, we have a quick update, quite literally though, since I'll be updating both of my Sovol 3D printers, and both of them involve the Klipper screen. I've recorded the entire process of applying the official firmware update to the SV07 Plus, starting with backing up my settings, all the way to solving this scary issue that affected my extruder after the update. I've also received a hardware update for my SV06 Plus, Sovol's official Klipper upgrade. For now, I can only show you what came in the box, but be sure to subscribe because I'm preparing a comprehensive review of the whole update process. This will feature before and after prints and detailed comparisons between Sovol's Plus machines, both now running on Klipper. A box in a box, and this one has a bunch of things. Here I see an accelerometer sensor and some kind of a power extension. There's a power plug and there's a micro USB cable that will connect the Klipper screen to the control board in the SV06 Plus. We have a cable for the accelerometer that connects the accelerometer to the Klipper screen, to this socket at the bottom. What else? Oh, we get a thumb drive, probably with the necessary software to update the software in the control board of the SV06 Plus, and a few screws for assembly. So that's what we have. And I'm planning to compare the Klipper experience on the SV07 Plus and the SV06 Plus with the upgraded Klipper screen. Make sure to subscribe so you get the video firsthand. Now let's dive into the process of updating the SV07 Plus. Before the firmware update, I'm going to back up different things. First, I go to my jobs. These are the G codes for different prints, which I like to keep on the printer. These are the ones that are in the storage area. So I move these to the USB thumb drive. So I highlighted all of them and simply drag over USB. And it's going to move these over to the USB thumb drive. I will get back to this in my conclusions at the end of the video, but turns out these files in the file system and many of the other settings actually survived the update process and factory restore. But it's still a good idea to make a backup. Okay, so regarding the configuration files, an easy way to do this is to select everything and create a zip archive. So you get a zip archive, you can right click on it and just download, and it's going to download all of these files in a single zip archive. You can see all the printer CFGs. What I plan to do is actually compare the very first version. So this is the first printer CFG that the printer came with. I will compare that with the last one, printer CFG, to see all the changes that I made in this file. And I will attempt to carry over as many of my modifications to the new settings file as I can. So either way, everything is backed up in this zip file now. And notice not only printer CFG but also Mainsail, fluid CFG, and all the other configuration files are right here. What's not here in this zip file are the log files, which you can find under System. You have clippy.log and moonraker.log. Those can be downloaded as well to your computer, where you will be able to find it later. So that's the preparation. By moving all my G codes away from the internal storage to the thumb drive, I also freed up some space which might be useful for the backup process to go through correctly. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off the printer and remove the thumb drive, because I'm going to back it up to my computer and use this thumb drive to install the firmware update on the SV07 Plus. Okay, so now I have copied all my files from the thumb drive to my computer. So I'm ready to format the thumb drive, delete everything from it. So the update file will be the only file on it. In the Sovol video, they suggest to use FAT32, and we can simply do a quick format, and this was quick. And now we can simply take that DEB file, drag it on this thumb drive, and then eject this thumb drive from the computer. Current version of my system is 10107P. So I'm going to shut down the system. Turn it on. Important point, make sure not to have the thumb drive plugged in at this point. Depending on the current version of your firmware, the update will behave differently. If you have the earlier 1.0.2 version, like I do, there will be no progress indication while the update is being applied. Other than this, however, there is no difference in the actual process. They had us restart the printer to make sure there are no running tasks during the update. Do not make any modifications, just plug in the thumb drive as they did in the video. The confusing thing is that nothing appears or nothing happens on the screen, but the update is in process. You can see I started at 1706. The update process goes on for about 4 or 5 minutes. You can see it on the temperature graph, but there are no visible feedback on this early version of the system. On newer versions, you will see some kind of a progress indicator. But at the end of the update process, the Klipper screen will reboot with the usual boot animation. And after this animation is done, there will be an uncomfortable long black screen, and then the first prompt will appear. And they tell us to just skip through the initial screens because we will want to factory reset afterwards. Checking again the version, we see 1.0.8, which is the latest version for the SV07 Plus. So we can do a factory reset now. The system reboots. The SV07 regular version, non-plus version, will have 1.0.17. The Plus has 1.0.8. Okay, so now we get the same prompts. So I can just pick English, set my time zone, but I'm in Europe, Budapest here, which is where I'm located at. For network, it remembered the settings. So I'm going to do the same things that I show in those other 2 videos where I explain how to do the leveling and basic setup and how to do the rest of the setup in the advanced configuration steps. I'm going to do all of those. We got disconnected from the printer, of course, but if we force refresh now, we will see that the new user interface, Mainsail, will greet us. Let me show the address bar. So we add :81 for port 81 to the address. We can still get back to the good old fluid interface, which was the only option in the original firmware. Why not enjoy the new Mainsail web UI though? As I've mentioned it earlier, my G-code files would still be here if I didn't move them from the internal storage to the thumb drive. And notice, all my history log was retained. They were not erased by the update and the factory restore. And even the backed up configuration files are all here. Only the most up-to-date printer.cfg was overwritten with the new default. This means even if you did not make a backup, you would still have access to all but the most recent version. The new default printer.cfg is of course missing my previous customizations. They need to be added again. My last auto-saved previous version is from October the 3rd. It has my changes and it is the same file I backed up in this zip archive. So let's download the updated new default printer.cfg. I will name it with today's date, October 25th. And I will open the three versions side by side. The June 19 version is the original printer.cfg that came with my printer. It has none of my changes. The October 24 version was the last which I used with the old firmware. It has all my customizations. And the October 25 is the new default, again without my customizations. Using file compare, I can see all my additions and changes in the October 24 version compared to the June 19 version. So now we just want to copy all of these customizations to the October 25 version in the new CFG under the macro section. So I'm just going to go down here and add these two pieces the same way as I added these two. So these should be the pressure advance, test mode, and the G-code M600. I'm going to talk about that in a next video, filament change macro. So that was one change, and then you can see these are the macros which I moved before end print. Add these changes in end print as well. So here, this line, respond type echo finish print, it's not proper English, so I changed it to print is complete. So load filament, unload filament, and something new here that I see in the original is this M205 macro which they must have added. Okay, what else? This section here, which increases the probe accuracy, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to add the same lines here. So continuing down, this change to increase the probe count. So I can just change that to 7,7. So these sections here, I could probably copy these, but I'm just going to redo these calibrations. I think we are all done. I can take this new printer.cfg, I copied everything, printer.cfg. Now I'm just going to highlight everything and overwrite with my changes. So I can just save and restart. So then I tested the printer. First, homing worked all well. The printer moved correctly in all directions. The probe seemed to work correctly, but then I was going to test the extrusion, and when I chose to extrude, this scary thing happened. If your extruder does this, vibrates and doesn't seem to advance the filament, I noticed in the new printer.cfg one line was missing, so search for the TMC extruder section, TMC 2209 extruder section, and this line, stealth chop threshold, this whole line was missing from the updated printer.cfg. So I just copied this over from my previous printer.cfg and saved and restarted the printer, and now the extruder works correctly. Amazing, right? And since then I printed a few calibration cubes, and turns out all the default rotation distances were correct. I had to adjust the extruder rotation distance, the E step. I also did input shaper calibration, PID tuning, and since then I've printed a bunch of things and it works just as well as before. New things I discovered in the updated system is LED control. Now setting the LED brightness or dimming the LED works better as before. I even tested the power loss resume and it seems to work correctly. So the firmware update of the SV07 Plus was a success. My next project is to install this Klipper screen for my SV06 Plus. Be sure to subscribe not to miss it. And now go print 3D.